For great ideas and practical tools you can start using tomorrow to grow your business and separate you from the competition, you've come to the right place. If you're into B2B marketing and sales, then welcome to the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast. With over 60 and counting total years in the trenches of businesses small and large, they have a plethora of knowledge and experience that generate you more leads, capture more clients, ring up more sales. Well, doggone it, just make you more money. How about that? Always thought-provoking, yet dubiously entertaining. Please welcome to their respective microphones across 3 time zones, your co-ringmasters, the Dave Loomis, and not the rock star, Steve Miller.
Hey everybody, this is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's Dad Marketing Gunslinger, and I'm not the rock star, Steve Miller. I am here with the coolest guy that I met in 2021. And it doesn't matter when you're listening to this, but just assume that this is sometime near the end of 2021. I'm with the coolest guy. I'm with Mr. Voice.
The Dave Loomis.
Do you believe that voice? That's amazing, Mr. Voice. And we're gonna take that voice and make him famous. That's what we are.
We decided earlier that I'm going to create a marketing superhero called Captain Marketing. Captain Marketing.
You hear that? You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Okay.
You heard it here first.
You know, if Stan Lee were alive, he'd be signing you up right at this moment. You know, and welcome to our podcast, the B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast. And we're so excited that you're here with us today. And I thought I would throw the Dave Loomis. Look, I'm trying to throw. I tried to throw him a little bit of a curveball because we always, we talk about what topics are we going to cover and things like that. But I thought, hey, let's both put ourselves on the spot here. All right, why are we supposed to be these? And I don't want to. I hate the word guru, but why are we supposed to be these people who can help you make more money? All right, because that's essentially what we're supposed to do. All right. So I said to Dave that I wanted to ask him and then for him to ask me also. Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right. When a company hires you to come in and work with them. Now, what we need to always recognize is that the bottom line is that the companies who hire us want to make more money. Would you agree with that?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, and they could be one of 2 types of companies. One that is already successful, but they're the very, very smart type of company who doesn't believe their own press releases, and they're willing to have somebody from the outside come in and take a look and help help them see whether they are in fact on the right path.
Right.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
Or the other one where they're in trouble.
Right.
And they're saying we need help.
Yeah.
Okay. So those are essentially the 2 types. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when a company hires you, how do you start? How do you start that relationship with them? What do you do? What's the first thing that you do with them that kickstarts this whole the relationship, the process? Mm-hmm. Of taking them from where they are to a better place? What do you do?
Well, what I'm going to say might be unexpected to some people that are listening and maybe to you, but probably not to you because we tend to be on the same wavelength. And
we have very rarely surprised each other.
Right. And so where I start off is usually where I left off in the sales process, and I'll tell you where that is. And I'll tell you by telling you a story from very early in my career. And it was a story about how I was initially kind of miffed and not understanding what my boss, the owner of my company, was up to. Because I was very early in my career, I was working in a marketing communications firm in Chicago, and my boss was the owner of the company. His name was Cliff Knowles, And this was a company called Marketing Solutions. And Cliff and Ann owned this company. And I was wearing a lot of hats at the time. It was a startup Marcom company. And we had this cool loft space back in the day. And I was supposed to bring in some new business too, so I was drumming up business. I used an AS400 for those of you who have no idea what that is. That was like one of the original sort of mid-range IBM computers.
Right.
And we
took
built
up 2 floors, right?
No, that would have been a mainframe. Yeah, exactly. But we built a database, and I was cold calling and trying to drum up business. And I called this one company, and they agreed to meet with me. And of course, we sold marketing communications. So at the time, that was printed brochures or sell sheets or things like that. There were no websites even at that time. Yet they were on the horizon. And so Cliff said, "Oh yeah, I'll go with you to the sales call." And I said, "That's great. Let's go." So we got in his Cadillac and we drove to the Chicago suburbs from the city and went into the parking lot of this medical equipment company, and went into a conference room. And he's sort of an assertive guy. So it's not like he was going to be quiet while I just led the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And he was an older guy, owner of the company too. So we sit down, and of course, first on my list of what I was going to ask was, okay, what do you need? Do you need a brochure? Do you need a sell sheet? What do you need? Mm-hmm. And Cliff said, "So how's business?" And I'm thinking, oh, okay, that's beside the point. Do they need brochures?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, and she answers and talks, and then he says, "So what challenges are you having right now with things?" He also said, "What are your goals? What are your goals for next year? And how do you feel about getting to those goals? What are your business goals? Not marketing. We'll get to that, but." And she talked, and they formed this great relationship. And I still couldn't get a word in edgewise about these darn brochures that I was trying to sell.
You're ready to sell.
Damn right.
And you were gonna ask for the order.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we had an interesting conversation on the way home, because I'm like, dang, you didn't let me get a word in edgewise. I want to talk about the brochures and what they needed. And he's like, "Dave, listen, unless you understand what someone's business is about, there's no way you're going to be able to help them. There's no way we're going to sell anything. I mean, successfully long term." And so other things that he asked were, well, how do you get to market? Who are your biggest customers? Where do you make your most profit? These are all the most basic questions you can imagine. But how could you not start there when you get hired? How could you just walk in the door and just cold say, "Okay, I think you mentioned a website that you needed, or I think you mentioned a trade show. What kind of booth do you have now? And you need a bigger booth, and colors. What are your corporate colors?" I mean, no. You want to know what is going on so that you can help diagnose the situation and then prescribe collaboratively what needs to be done. That's my quick answer about where to start.
Yeah, but so that's what you do now.
That's what I do now. I learned that early on, and once I learned that, I never look back.
Yeah,
because you catch yourself and you almost, once you understand that and it works and you realize, oh, this is actually how to build a relationship. This is how to understand someone's business. And
right.
The more you do it, the better you get at it, because the more businesses that you learn about, You just bring what you learned from that to the table, and so on. You just literally get better and better at it.
Yeah, we're really close.
Yeah.
Really
Okay.
close. I think I'm a little more.
What,
I think I'm a little more specific because, but
Okay,
I
good.
like that approach too. I like that approach too. When
okay. I'll ask you.
okay,
I'm going to
you have a question
formally.
You have a question, sir?
I do. Steve, when you get hired, how do you start? So how do you start off with a client? What do you do? What do you say? What do you ask? What's your process?
Well, like you, because you alluded to the before you are confirmed to be hired. Okay, you alluded to kind of the sales process, that there are things to learn in the sales process, but see, I also look at it as that's where the relationship begins.
Sure. Okay.
So I have 3 questions that I ask people.
Okay, great.
My first question is, what do you do? So it's kind of like, tell me about your business, but I want them to tell me what they do, and the reason why I ask it in that way, instead of saying, tell me about your business, I say, tell me about what you do, is that I would venture to say 99.99% of the responses that I've heard from people is, oh, well, we make widgets. Oh, well, we build this. Oh, we have this service or something like that. That's what they tell me that they do. Okay, which immediately tells me right out of the box, I already know one thing I need to change in their thinking and their perspectives. Okay, because number one, none of us are in the business of making anything. And I think this is really important for people to understand.
What are we in? If we're not in the business of making something, what business are we in then?
We are in the business of marketing something. That's what we are in the business of. And
what is the difference?
The difference is recognizing what we're supposed to be working on, because without customers, we fail. All right. And marketing is the process of getting marketing, and sales are the tools that are used to get customers. Now, the customer might need something, okay, but if we're not absolutely focused on marketing what we make is the deliverable. All right, that is the deliverable. Yes. Right. So, and I always want people to understand, they really need to be focused on marketing and sales first. You know, I look at it. I look at this. The whole business thing is the formula to me is, and I don't think you and I have had this conversation yet. I look at it as like it's X over Y. X over Y. Right. That's all business is. X over Y. Right. The Y, the denominator in the fraction, is operations. It's what are you spending? What are you, how much is it costing you to have the machines that make a product? To have the people who are running the machines that are making the product and stuff like that. These are all costs in the business. Okay. None of that is designed to generate revenue. That's the X. The X is income. The Y is outgo. All right. Income is sales, marketing, everything like that, to go out and generate and build relationships and things like that. Now, the way a business fails is if Y is greater than X.
Yeah, it's not that complicated, is it?
That's right. That's right. Okay. So
what do you do? Is your first question, and you would, if there was a miracle and the person answered you in the way that you would hope, in the 1%, they might say, well, I market roofing systems to commercial builders, something like that.
Yeah. And if somebody said that to me, first of all, I would say to them, I already know you're successful. Okay. And you just want to be more successful.
Yeah.
Okay. But most other people, when they say, well, no, it's the Y that's important. I go, no, it's the X that's important, because you see, the Y, you can never, it's like the price. All right. You will never win a price war.
Right.
All right. And the Y, the cost, you can't cut costs to zero. Right. While the X, the sky's the limit.
Yep.
The revenues and stuff like that are the limit. So question number one is
Okay.
What do you do? Now, I don't, if they, when they tell me, I don't immediately respond with what we just said. Okay.
Right. Of course.
No, I just want to learn it. I just want to hear what they have to say. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's number one. The question number two is, who are your moose? We've had these conversations, the people that have listened to our podcast before know that for me, you have to have a really, really focused target market. At least in the beginning, you start with a focused target market. And I always say it's like hunting moose in the forest. Okay. Yeah. So I want to know who their moose is and how well they know who the moose is. And most of the time, the answer is actually pretty fuzzy, because, I don't say I'll say, who's your moose? And they look at me like, what are you talking about? And I'll say, oh, who's your target market? And now, most people today are smart enough to know that they shouldn't answer everybody.
But sometimes they do.
They sometimes do. But sometimes they'll say something like, oh, industrial design engineers.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a forest. Okay. Because there are lots of different kinds of industrial design engineers. I mean, you could just say it as simply as like, some are in automotive, some are in aerospace, some are in food, some are in, so those are all different animals. Right. So number two, I want to know, how well have they defined their market, and how well do they know their market? Okay.
Got it.
And then question number three is, why should your prospects buy from you versus every other option available to them?
And what percentage of the time do you get a succinct one-sentence answer to that question?
Almost never. Almost never. Because I shouldn't say that I don't get a succinct answer. What I get is a very common answer. Everybody tells me they've got the best product, they've got the best customer service, and it's at a fair price. Everybody tells me that.
Right.
And if you go and when people start to say that to me, they'll say, "Oh, we have the highest quality product on the market. We have the best customer service on the market, and it's very fair price." And I will say, okay, well, I don't doubt that your quality is great, because that is the ante to be in the game today.
Right. It's table stakes.
Yeah, that's right. Best customer service. That's a vague generality. There is no definition to best customer service. If you have not, and I say to people, I say, okay, if we go right now, and I'll say, I'll pick my laptop up here. All right. And I want you to tell me who your top 5 competitors are. We're going to go to every one of their websites and let's see what they say.
The same thing.
Exact same verbiage, exact same language, best quality product, best customer service, fair price.
Right.
Every single one of them says that.
Right. And it's fascinating because it doesn't even matter what business we're talking about. We could be talking about nuts and bolts. We could be talking about $500,000 concrete pump trucks.
I didn't even know there were $500,000 concrete.
Oh yeah, there are.
Of course there are, right?
Yeah, one of my clients makes those, and we did the same exercise, and it was fascinating because, those are highly engineered products. There's only a few big manufacturers, but if you go to the World of Concrete
or ConAg,
in Las Vegas,
ConExpo.
Yeah, and ConAg, right, exactly. You'll see them. And they're the star of the show because they're these giant trucks.
They are massive.
Articulating arms.
I worked with Volvo equipment at one of the ConExpos, and their booth was actually one of the trucks.
Yeah.
It was the booth was the truck was the booth, and we had ladders, stair steps for people to climb up, because the bed of the truck was so huge.
Yeah.
They could have their meetings inside of the bed of the truck. They're just
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah. But of 3 or 4 competitors, these things all can look the same. They can have the same features. They can have the same kind of horsepower and all these other things. But there are other factors, when we all as marketers, we all dig into it, because one of the next things when we get that vague answer and we realize from our new client that everybody's saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We want to go also into research mode a little bit and talk to customers and find out, well, what's really behind this? Why are you working with them? Why have you stuck with them year after year after year?
Right.
And you avoid RFPs just so you can work with them. And they will actually tell you every time. And you don't even have to talk to very many people to hear the same thing over and over and over again. And it might be something like, well, everybody says they do this and that, but this company really is the workhorse. And we try to break the thing. We couldn't break the thing if we tried. It's unbelievable. It's just, it's a workhorse. Or they say, well, everybody says they have good customer service, but these guys, it's out of this world. We could.
Yeah, and one of the things about people who say they have good customer service, or who actually are known for that, is because customers and the company are able to to share very specific definitions of it,
and stories and examples,
big stories. Zappos, for example, one of the rules that they have for their customer service agents is there is no time limit on your call with a customer service agent. Okay. Yeah, and they actually have in their offices, like a big banner on one of the walls, and something like, and it names the agent and stuff. And that agent had a customer service call with one person, and it was like 10 hours.
Right.
But they celebrate that. See, so, but that's a very meaningful specific.
Yes,
right?
yes, it is. And every company, by definition, if you have sales of any kind, someone bought it, and they bought it for a reason. And if you have repeat sales, someone bought it again for a reason.
And you have stories.
Yes. It may be that you are the cheapest, you are the lowest price. That's rare. Even with commodities, it's rare. But that might be it. But there's all sorts of other reasons.
Yep, all sorts of other reasons. So, okay, so we're past our 20 minutes. So we're going to cut this off. But I think one of the things we should definitely talk about, let's do it in our next call, is examples of those stories.
Yeah, that's a good thing. In fact, I had a listener give me some feedback, and they said, oh, we love that it's 20 minutes, but we want more. We wish, hey, can you do a 2-parter? So maybe this is our 2-parter. Maybe
So part one,
part two
are these things we're talking about, and having meaningful specifics to me is so critical.
Yes.
So critical. And when you're talking about, especially if you're talking about customer service, stories are everything. Stories are everything. And I think that's what we should do. Okay, part 2 is how do we help our customers, capture those stories and share those stories, to help them be more successful.
Perfect. I love it. That sounds great. Let's do it.
Take us away, Mr. Voice.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much. This is Captain Marketing signing off from this fantastic episode of the B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast with Dave Loomis and Not the Rockstar Steve Miller. So join us again for part 2. It's a cliffhanger.
Oh my gosh! Are they going to survive?
Tune in next time for another episode.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast, the source for B2B marketing and sales insight. If you enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and leave these old guys a 5-star rating. Check the show notes for any links and contact information. You can always contact us by going to b2bmarketingsalespodcast.com. Thank you, and keep on marketing. Keep on selling.